In a surprise decision last Friday, July 25, the Supreme Court ruled that the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte is unconstitutional, halting the scheduled trial by the Senate Impeachment Court. Today, we are joined by lawyer Michael Poa, the spokesperson of the defense team of the Vice President. Hello, Attorney Michael Poa. Welcome to Rappler.
Hi, Bonz. Thank you for having us, and I'd like to say good evening to everyone who's watching us right now.
So let's get right to it. No? Attorney Poa, you've been with the VP since 2022.
Yes.
Then, of course, you left and then you returned. What made you decide to be one of the spokesperson of Vice President Sara Duterte again?
Well, actually, it's I think we need to put things in context. No? So I started as a DepEd spokesperson, and then nung natapos yung term niya sa DepEd, ay nilipat niya ako ngayon sa OVP, but only on a contractual basis because at that time, I was already back in private practice. So when this impeachment complaint was eventually filed, no, she engaged me as her counsel because I was already her counsel even before that, no, as her personal counsel. So nung lumabas na talaga yung impeachment complaint, officially, she and I had a discussion for me to join the defense team. And of course, hindi kasi kami magkakilala ni VP Sara prior to her becoming the Vice President, no, in 2022. So it was really a big deal for me, the trust that she reposed in me. No? And to this day, I really thank her for all the trust. Mm-hmm. So as to why I decided to join the defense team and eventually
become the spokesperson.
Now that I'm talking for the defense team, it's because doon lalo na doon sa Supreme Court decision, I really felt like there were a lot of constitutional issues that were worth bringing up to the attention of the Supreme Court, because whatever happens, win or lose, it would enrich jurisprudence, and that's from a student of law perspective naman.
Pero attorney, di ba, parang prior to that, of course, nagkaroon ng congressional inquiry and you were one of the subjects there. Kayo yung pinatawag. Hindi po ba kayo natakot na, again, papasukin nyo ulit yung mundo nitong politika? Masasabi natin kasi whether you like it or not, you're affiliated with the VP, even you're counseling her sa legal side or sa legal matters.
Well, it's not gonna be easy, obviously, but I think with this role, I'm more of just on the legal side, no. So hindi ako involved sa operations anymore with OVP or anything like that. It's really more on the legal side. Yun naman talaga yung pinanggalingan ko. So I thought, given the opportunity and given the trust that she has always reposed in me, na pasukin ko na rin and then try to assist her in whichever way I can. But yes, it was not an easy decision to make. But at this point in time, ang iniisip ko talaga is how can I assist her? Lalo na hindi lang kasi sa impeachment, napakaraming legal battles na hinaharap ng ating Vice Presidente. So since yan naman talaga ang profession ko, hindi na ako nag-atubili na tumulong.
So, but what were the considerations? Because you came actually from private practice, right? Actually, you have a law firm here in Makati. Were there like adjustments given na it's a totally different word, it's politics?
Well, it's not really adjustments, no. Of course, ang hirap dito is syempre in such a big case, you also have to manage your time because you also have other clients to manage. So maybe the adjustment is there. But in terms of politics, that's something that I have always tried to shy away from, no. Even when I was in DepEd, hindi ba? It was only whatever were the facts. Pag tinatanong ako, it's just the facts as spokesperson of the Department of Education. Pagdating din naman dito sa defense, we try to shy away from the politics. Hindi lang ako, but the entire defense team. So we really focus on the legalities. Ano yung mga arguments namin, ano yung mga responses namin laban sa mga allegations sa kanya. And we're not the type to really want to get into the politics of it. That's why, if you notice, and I'd like to maybe take this opportunity para humingi na rin ng paumanhin sa media, friends natin, because we were always silent the whole time since February, I suppose, when the defense team was really announced. We have been silent with the media kasi we felt it best not to take interviews at that point. Kasi nga, it's just all kung ang sagot namin puro sa media lang, we will just end up preempting our defenses. No? We just decided to really focus on the defenses once magkaroon na talaga ng trial.
Okay. For those watching, especially yung mga supporters ni Vice President Sara Duterte, what are the dynamics actually between VP Sara and her legal team? Does the VP consult every statement she makes publicly?
No, not really. The VP has never been that type. Very compartmentalized naman parati talaga ang operation. So, maybe an insight is, of course, she consults us on certain matters. And pagdating naman sa legal team, syempre we also consult her on certain strategies. But that's about it. You know, she leaves us to really do our job. And syempre, at the end of the day, kami yung mga mag-a-advise talaga sa kanya kung ano yung proper steps to take on the legal side, but solely on the legal side.
But was there any incident, for instance, attorney, na sa tingin nyo, the Vice President was commenting about the impeachment and then sa tingin nyo dapat hindi niya to sinasabi, or ano yung naging action nyo regarding it?
Wala naman. To be completely fair, from the time that this whole impeachment process began, I think the Vice President has always been consistent in saying, pag natatanong siya sa mga press con or mga ambush interviews, na there is a legal team taking care of the impeachment issues. No? So, wala naman akong masasabi na ganun.
Okay. Itatanungin ko kayo, attorney, about this. Do you feel vindicated with the SC ruling?
I think vindicated is not really the word at this point, no? Because when you say vindication, it's really with the allegations na, the merits na ng kaso. So ngayon, I wouldn't say vindicated. Ang masasabi ko lang is at least na-affirm yung position namin all along from the get-go since February na may mga naging paglabag sa proseso, no? Paglabag sa saligang batas natin doon sa prosesong isinagawa. But as to the merits, obviously, hindi pa kasi nandun pa lang tayo sa procedural. So, I don't really want to say vindicated at this point.
Okay. Take us back to the time nung Friday na nalaman nyo, how did the Vice President react to the SC decision?
It was a very short conversation kasi nga I personally was not expecting that decision that day. So when I found out, I immediately messaged the Vice President, but it was only via text message at the time. And we had a very brief conversation lang. It was really me informing her that there is such a decision that was favorable to us, ruling that the fourth impeachment complaint, which was eventually transmitted as the articles of impeachment as being unconstitutional. And after that, she acknowledged my message and nagpasalamat lang siya sa defense team. So we haven't really had a sit-down since then, so hindi pa namin napag-uusapan ng masinsinan. In fact, just this morning, I saw that she issued a statement also, thanking those who supported her. So hanggang dun pa lang naman. Unfortunately, wala pa akong mailahad o ma-share sa inyo na mas detalyado.
So it was just a short message, of course, thanking you, informing her.
It was, yes, because I think at that time, she also had a lot of engagements. No?
She was, I think, in Korea that time.
Or something like that.
Did the defense team foresee that the High Court would decide in your favor?
We were optimistic. We were very hopeful. Of course, when we filed this petition, we firmly believed in our legal position, which is that there were infringements or violations dun sa naging proseso. So we were looking forward, of course, to a favorable decision.
But how do you react to criticisms that the Supreme Court, or that the reason the Supreme Court favored the VP because 12 of the 15 judges were appointees of her father herself?
It's hard for me to comment kasi hindi naman sa defense team nakadirect yung ganyang comment. But I've said this in other interviews. We can always disagree kasi with decisions of the Supreme Court, diba? And there are remedies for that. On the legal side, may motion for reconsideration, etc. But I would like to sana sabihin sa lahat, whether anumang kulay tayo ng politika or whatever side we're on, is we really have to respect the decision of the Supreme Court. Ngayon, dun sa mga nagsasabi na appointees, to me, but this is again just to me personally, I think it's a bit insulting naman to the justices, no, to say that they decided one way or the other. So sa akin, hinikayat ko sana na we might not agree with the decision, but we hope that we can respect it, being the Supreme Court.
Okay. Attorney, tanungin din kita dito. Well, kasi while the Senate Impeachment Court, of course, has welcomed the decision of the Supreme Court, sinasabi nga nila na kaya maingat yung pag-tackle nila dito sa impeachment is kasi nga may mga legal issues or na baka pwede maibalik sa kanila. And then, at the same time, of course, may mga senators na sabi nila na yun daw impeachment process is solely a congressional matter, a congressional process, and being a co-equal branch of the government, sila lang daw dapat yung magde-decide dito. How do you react to that? Na yung Supreme Court na yung nag-decide and then at the same time, the senators, some senators actually, are saying na sa kanila dapat yung final decision.
Well, sa akin naman, again, it's inappropriate for me to comment on senators. No? Ginagalang ko lahat ng opinion ng senators, regardless if they're different with our position. But we filed, maybe the way I'll answer that is why we filed this case and on the basis on which we filed this case. No? We filed this case, this petition for certiorari, prohibition, based on our position na may nagkaroon ng paglalabag sa ligang batas. And we did that because we believe and that under the Constitution, the Supreme Court has the power to determine if there was in fact grave abuse of discretion. That's clearly stated under Article 8, Section 1, which is what we refer to as the expanded certiorari jurisdiction, or in simpler terms, expanded power of judicial review, wherein the Supreme Court was empowered by our Constitution to determine kung merong mga naging paglabag or grave abuse of discretion on the part of the other branches of government. No? So yun yung naging batayan naman namin. Now, but let's respect rin yung opinion ng mga senators, even if hindi siya pareho sa atin. So yun lang naman ang parati nating disposition sa mga ganyang bagay.
Okay. For my next question, the Vice President has repeatedly denied the corruption allegations against her, but there's a general view that she doesn't want to do this There's a general view, of course, that she doesn't want to do this before an impeachment court to address those allegations. Can you address this observation from critics?
On the contrary, the Vice President has always maintained, diba, that she is willing to go to trial, that she was ready to go to trial. And that's not something that she says in public, even with the legal team. No? Yan din yung sinasabi niya sa amin. So I don't know where that is coming from, yung notion that ayaw niyang sagutin yung impeachment court. In fact, if you remember, nung nagkaroon ng last session, I think sa Senate, and the complaint was remanded back to the House, pero nag-issue ng summons, no? We still saw it right to file an answer doon sa complaint as ordered by the impeachment court through the issuance of summons. No? So contrary to that statement, the Vice President, I can say, has always maintained and has been consistent in saying that she is willing to respond to all these allegations.
Okay. Many surveys over the past months held by various survey firms reflect the same public sentiment. They want the impeachment trial to push through. The VP herself promised, quote-unquote, bloodbath at the trial, which sounds like she's fully prepared for the battle. If Vice President Sara Duterte is ready to face the allegations against her, wouldn't it be fair or wouldn't it be better to hold the trial now than later?
Well, when you talk about fair, it cuts both ways kasi, no? So, ang naging nakita nating problema dito is nagkaroon ng problema dun sa pag-initiate ng impeachment proceedings, diba? So, we are all entitled to due process. And of course, the Vice President herself is entitled to due process. So, regardless kung ano yung disposition niya, which she has always maintained that she's ready, but we cannot also turn the blind eye kung nagkaroon ng violation sa mga constitutional standards natin. No? And that's what we did. That's why we filed that petition. But it was no way with the intent to evade the trial. It's just that, syempre, kung nagkaroon ng violations doon sa pag-initiate ng impeachment proceedings, trabaho din namin as lawyers to defend her rights fully and defend her rights to due process.
Okay. Corruption, specifically misuse of confidential funds, was among the charges included in the impeachment complaint against the Vice President. It's a serious allegation, attorney. And the Vice President has refused to answer it since 2023. Sinasabi niya na yung proper trial daw is the impeachment court kasi nga may complaint na, and hindi siya sasagot sa mga congressmen doing the investigation during that time. You were part of that inquiry. With the fate of her trial still hanging in the air, does she have plans at all to address these allegations?
We are addressing this actually already in COA, which is the primary or the primary office that's in charge with auditing public funds, no? And that is ongoing at the moment. In fact, there is a petition for review before the Commission proper, which is a proper venue to address these issues with the confidential funds of the OVP.
Pero, attorney, the Vice President was elected by 32 million people. Hindi ba kailangan i-address din yung mga questions about alleged misuse of confidential funds publicly?
Definitely, we have to address these things. But again, meron kasi tayong proseso na sinusunod. No? So, to be honest, if we address this publicly, that doesn't solve the COA disallowance issue. Diba? We're trying to solve this, at least on the legal side, we're trying to solve the COA disallowance issue. Yan yung dapat nating tugunan. And yan ang ginagawa natin. Yung sinasabi naman na pagsagot, that's why we always say no, na kailangan sagutin ng mga bagay-bagay sa tamang panahon at sa tamang forum. And the proper forum for this, because ang nag-issue ng disallowance is COA, dyan natin sinasagot ang mga naging findings ng Commission.
Attorney, may mga nagsasabi na para daw itong ginagawa na strategy ni VP Sara to keep silent about alleged misuse of confidential fund is para daw mapagod na lang yung mga tao dito sa issue na to. How would you react to that?
I cannot comment on that because that is I don't even know where that accusation is going. I don't know what the basis of that accusation is. And further, I'm also not a spokesperson of the Vice President. So we're only concerned on the legal side.
Legal side. Okay. So to wrap up our discussion, attorney, on the legal side, as you mentioned, what will be the next move for VP Sara that you can share that, of course, will not compromise your strategy?
Well, sa ngayon, we are hearing a lot of things. No? We are hearing that the House might file a motion for reconsideration doon sa naging decision ng Supreme Court, which, as I've said, is definitely within their right and prerogative to do so. So tayo, we're just trying to monitor the situation. If ever man mag-file ng motion for reconsideration ng House, of course, masaserva naman tayo ng kopya niyan. We will read through it, and if the Supreme Court orders us to comment, we will comment. Pagdating naman doon sa Senate, that is a process that is internal to the Senate, which we respect. Ginagalang natin yan. So, hindi kami nagkokomento about it, but we are also monitoring that. At kung meron man kailangan gawin, then we will react accordingly. So, sa ngayon, wala pa akong mabibigay na concrete steps because it's really waiting for the developments that will come into play in the next few days.
Okay. Attorney, hypothetically, the Senate will defy the Supreme Court order. As a lawyer, sa perspective ng isang lawyer, ano sa tingin niyo yung magiging repercussions nito?
It's a very difficult question kasi it's hard to speculate on what the Senate will do, and out of respect siguro hindi muna ako magko-comment dyan.
Okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Poa, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonz.
So for more political updates, you can download the Rappler Communities app and join the politics chat room. Again, I'm Bonz Magsambol. Thanks for watching.